We're looking at a medieval Last Judgment, heaven and hell, the saved and the damned, all rendered in a style long way off from realism. It's easy to call this a lack of skill. It isn't. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words, but what happens when a picture is meant to be the words? Come with me, and I'll render the hidden language by hand. In this current study, I've rendered myself in the center with a square halo, holding a memento mori in my right hand and making the gesture of a sermon with my left. Now I add a key figure to the piece. I add a depiction of Christ commonly used in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, a Pantokrator, which means ruler of the universe. This usually depicts Christ blessing with his right hand and holding a book of the Gospels with his left, though I've taken some liberties with this rendering. His blessing hand is directed toward Joan of Arc. Christ's actual left hand isn't visible from our perspective. We can look closer at how I've drawn Christ's hand, the blessing hand, and this is an interesting one. Most of us interpret the two fingers extended and the remaining digits clasped to be a blessing gesture. I've actually rendered it in this way directly, as Christ is touching Joan's halo with his two fingers. This is actually likely a misinterpretation, as we see instances of Christ and others using this same gesture in situations where it wouldn't make sense. There are, for example, depictions of Christ using this while facing a demon. As it turns out, this gesture is seen in early pagan Greek and Roman art. It was meant to be an indicator that the character using it is speaking. So technically I'm using it in the wrong way. You'll probably notice that Christ is being drawn inside of the Vesica Piscis. It turns out when the Vesica Piscis is used to encapsulate a figure in religious art, we call this a mandorla. The mandorla is meant to depict theophany, or more simply put, the passage between worlds. I'm also going to give Christ a circular halo. As I mentioned before, circular halos are for saints and Christ, but this is a special circular halo containing a cross that's known as a cruciform halo. Only Christ is allowed to wear this halo type at every stage of his life that's depicted. This would make it much easier to differentiate a regular infant from an infant Christ in a composition, for example. As I start shading the drawing, you can see that I'm rendering the mandorla inner center darker than the outer parts of it. This is not to illustrate material depth, but instead it's alluding to a deliberate apophatic theology, the idea that God's light exceeds perception, and therefore maximum light renders as dark. It's actually one of my favorite concepts I found while doing this study. This piece isn't complete yet. Along the way we've been learning an ancient language. Even my own mistakes, like using the blessing hand as a literal action for Joan's halo, helped me discover the original meaning. I've also planned to add attributes of Joan's three saints, Michael, Margaret, and Catherine, to the banner behind her head. We'll get to each of those and finish the language in part 3. I hope you're enjoying this journey as much as I am.